start time. The first item is the approval of the agenda. Is there any changes or additions to the agenda? Hearing none, can I have a motion to approve, please?
So move.
Second that, Your Worship.
Moved by Councillor Pence, second by Deputy Mayor Knight. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Contrary minded. Motion carried unanimously. Thank you. The next is the approval of the minutes. They're distributed electronically from May 13th, 2019. Any errors or omissions? Hearing none, can I have a motion, please?
So move, Your Worship.
I'll second that.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Knight, seconded by Councillor Campbell. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Contrary minded. Motion carried unanimously. Thank you. Item 3, business arising from the minutes, phone booth.
Yes, Your Worship, I have an update on that. I spoke with representatives from Bell, and they are going to be removing the phone booths that Councillor Pence brought up at the last meeting.
Thank you very much for that follow-up, and thank you to Councillor Pence for bringing that to our attention. It will help improve the aesthetics of the main street, so thank you. So we'll move on to item 4, is a presentation from Special Olympian Evan Sharp.
Okay.
You want a picture here, somewhere better? Sure.
Smile, Susan.
So I get some of this out of the way, or are we okay?
You're
Thank you,
welcome.
Evan.
Thank you for your support.
Appreciate it. We're very proud of you. So I'd like to read what is, on behalf of the Special Olympics Canada 2018 Summer Games, our sincere appreciation for your dedication, commitment, and support towards making the 2018 National Summer Games a huge success. You have made a positive and significant difference in the Special Olympics movement and the lives of athletes across our country. Thank you. I know that the games were well supported by all municipal units, so thank you to all of them. And this goes, I guess, to all the Pictou County ammunition there. Here, the feedback was very positive about the hosting of the games and things like that. So it really shone a spotlight on our area of the province and shone in a positive way. So thank you, Evan. We're very happy to support you in your endeavors. Thank you. Next is reports from the elected. They're all submitted electronically. Is there any questions or would anyone like to highlight anything in their report? Do I have a motion to accept them then, please?
So move.
Second that, Your Worship.
Moved by Councillor Pence, seconded by Deputy Mayor Knight. All those in favour, signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary minded, motion carried unanimously. Thank you. Item 6A is the police service report from staff. That was already gone over at the police commission meeting. It's in our package for information purposes. Is there any questions or on the police commission report? Can I have a motion to accept it, please?
I so move.
I'll second that.
Moved by Councillor Wan, seconded by Councillor Campbell. All those in favour, signify by saying aye. Contrary minded, motion carried unanimously. Thank you. 6B, Emily Jones, building official, fire inspector.
I so move. I'll second the motion, Your Worship.
Moved by Councillor Wan, seconded by Councillor Pence. Any
Emily, just that you were up and down fast. You're doing a great job. Thank you very much.
All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Contrary minded, motion carried unanimously. Thank you. Item 6C, Rachel McLean, Planning and Development Officer.
I'll move the report as written, Your Worship.
Second report, and again, Rachel, great job.
Moved by Councillor Pence, seconded by Deputy Mayor Knight. On the question, I do have some comments or questions for you. The roundabout feature, are we still on track for July for that?
I hope so, yes. I'm working with the fabricator right now and getting materials organized to him. So yeah, hope so, yeah.
Very happy and pleased to hear you join Communities in Bloom. That's a very important organization in town, and to have a staff member on there, I think is a really good conduit for information, so thank you for that. I see you're doing one of your first tasks is a tree inventory. I just wanted to mention that people don't realize how important trees are to a community, so I think that's a really good endeavor. I know I talked to Frank Sobey's son Dave Sobey when Frank was mayor. He insisted when sidewalks were built, trees line the sidewalk as well, so they're a big part of our town, so thank you for that. The traffic engineer regarding the three-way stop, is he going to give us a written opinion on that, do you know?
I didn't ask it like require, but I can if we need that, yeah.
I'm just wondering, the busiest times for Sam's would be like Friday nights and Sunday nights. So I'm just wondering if you would be aware of those times as well as the general traffic throughout the day. Okay. And I also wanted to mention, thank you for attending the Rick Hansen training, or when it becomes available for planning to attend it. I think that's super important, and we're undergoing a review of a town hall here, so I think accessibility is a huge issue, and you talk about built environments. So I'd just like to give an example with a built environment. Instead of having a power door in your bathrooms, you notice new garage stations, there is no door in the bathroom, you just walk around. That would be an example of a built environment improvement, so I think that's super important, so thank you for that as well. That's it, so you're free to go. Thank you, Rachel. 6D, Fire Chief Dwight Campbell.
Your worship, councilors, you have my report for me.
I second that, Your Worship.
Moved by Councillor Pence, seconded by Deputy Mayor Knight. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Contrary minded, motion carried unanimously. Thank you, Chief. 6E, Paul Corbin, Community Development and Recreation.
I believe you have my report. I'd like to submit it as written.
I noticed on the social media you talked about using more pictures to grab attention. That's a good idea. Text doesn't grab attention, pictures do, and videos even more so that's the way. The hydration station in Town Square, I think that was a great idea. Thanks for following up on that. Have we talked to the business owner regarding the parklet yet?
No, not yet. That is happening this week, though.
I want to thank the NSCC students for working on the trail cleanup, and also thank Instructor John Atwater for making the connection to help the town out in that manner. I want to thank you for meeting with the Albion baseball field, different teams that use the good communications key. The climbing matrix, the new material, do we have a time frame delivery in the new fall material?
Not as of yet. Waiting on that, but we're also working around the Public Works construction schedule as well. So there's a few moving pieces involved with that, but we are looking to have that up this season for sure.
And I think it makes perfect sense to make sure that the area that we talk about being hydro-seeded is landscape first. I think that's a good idea. And the water slide, I guess, is my last question. Is there any other questions for Paul before we talk about the water slide? Okay.
Thank you, Your Worship. Hi, Paul. For the Pleasant Street Playground and area, you said that there's the debris going to be cleaned up. Do you have a timeline for that?
No, the engineer, myself, and the planner are working on this project. Certain parts about that project are probably more geared towards the engineer, especially with the debris part. I think we're working together to put together a proposal to present to council and wait for further direction after that, because there's a lot of moving parts, I think, with this.
Will we receive something by the community of the whole meeting in June, you think?
I'm saying yes.
Thank you. and this was for you and for Rachel, for the parklets. I think the last time we talked about it, I asked everybody to take a look, and my preference would be in front of the tax place on 4th Street, across from the library. There's two do not park zone, and they are clearly identified. And then in the middle there is a what do you call that? A sidewalk, not walk, a walkway, a crosswalk. Thank you. I think that would be a great thing. The only thing would be that if maybe the Chief Dwight can get a fire truck and see if the fire truck going from 4th Street onto Jubilee, if it can go through, if we put that parklet in place. In my opinion, that's a perfect spot. That's my recommendation. Thank you.
Questions?
No question, but just a correction, Your Worship. The last meeting that you thanked us for putting the recreation minutes in the agenda. Well, I have to give that credit to our clerk, Susan Higdon. She was the one that suggested we put it in there.
It was a good idea. The more information, the better. So we want to talk about the water slide now? Yes. Okay, so I guess there's a couple options here for us. What's the will of council? Do we want staff to look into the option of a water slide, or?
If I can just, thank you. So what I'm trying to understand here, when we took out the water slide, we took out so that we can save some money to do the summer camp, and that's, in my opinion, a great way to do that. Since then, I received multiple feedback from some residents, and recently I received more feedback from the community in Bloom. They were meeting, and they were discussing that even though we have that town square, which is beautiful and awesome, but it attracts a different age group than what the water slide does. So they asked for clarification on why it was removed. So I provided a small explanation of why we removed it. But now my question more about is, before we decide whether we want to spend the money or not, I want to understand how the summer camp is doing. Like last year, for example, how many registrations did we have? What the service of the community did we provide? Because at the end of the day, we can't do everything. We just want to understand what's the best return on our investment is. And that was the why I brought it forward, not only because it was brought to my attention, but I would like to understand as well.
Well, to answer your question about summer camp, the only week that we weren't at capacity last year was the first week, which was the first week in July. Every other week was at full capacity, with more and more people wanting to get in the later the summer went. So the need is definitely there that summer camp is quite successful and being utilized to its max potential right now.
Having said that, in the past, before we stopped the water slide, how was the usage before that, Paul? Do you remember?
It was a very different setup. So when I first started, the water slides were on Tuesdays, but day camp was a single day camp, which had a one registration fee that was incredibly low, and you never knew how many people were going to arrive that day. The structure of the camp, when I became the director, switched into a more stable Tuesday to Friday, and we had the water slides on Monday. The camp's been growing. The water slide usage was going down unless it was a special event day, which was Kids Day. We've had days in the past where it's beautiful, sunny, we're expecting a big crowd, and we wouldn't have it. Then there would be days where it would rain and it wouldn't happen at all. And then there would be days where there would be, I would say on average, each time that we've had it, there would be an average of probably 2 cancellations per year, per summer, and probably averaging 15 or so kids that would be using it on repetition for that time period, excluding Kids Day, which was an anomaly on its own. It had, 40, 50 kids.
So how does council want to proceed? Do we want to leave as is for now, or do we want to leave as is? Or?
Worship, I would like to understand the numbers. We can leave as is, that's not a problem, but I would like to understand what the numbers are so that next budget meeting will be more informed.
Your Worship, I agree with Councillor Lamont. We should get some figures on it and a report on it. We can leave it as it is for this year, but it'd be good to look into it.
Oh, I agree. I think we should get the costs and look into it.
Okay, so I think the will of council is pretty clear to get some costs for us, and we'll re-examine it for next budget year. Okay. Any further questions for the Community Development Recreation Officer? No? Can I have a motion to accept it?
So,
I'll second that, Your Worship.
Moved by Councillor Pence, seconded by Deputy Mayor Knight. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Contrary minded, motion carried unanimously. Thank you, Paul. 6F, Blaine Murray, Town Engineer.
Good evening, Your Worship and Council. You have my reports as submitted. Do you have any questions?
I guess I'll start. St. Joseph Street, wondering what the timeline. I think we're done the water replacement, just the paving left. Is that correct? Or?
The water main is installed itself. We're doing testing today. We were doing testing. We'll go back once the testing's approved. We'll go back and hook up all the service to the houses, and then at some point we'll pave the street.
I just wanted to mention the asset management, that it's the town of Stellarton is fully bought in the asset management. Myself, Rachel, Blaine, and Susan go to most of the courses, and it's really serving us well. Still nothing to report on the ICIP grant from the feds?
No.
The Jubilee Street Rehabilitation Project, I wanted to mention that Blaine was relatively proactive in this. It wasn't a crisis situation brought to him by council, so he was proactive and brought to the budget process with the numbers in front of him, so that was the way to do things, so thank you for that, Blaine. On the capital sidewalk replacements, can you refresh us where they are? The east side of McKay Street.
I would have to refresh that to McKay, Foster, King, and a little section on Board Street. Yeah.
In the Lehigh fencing, I see is in the works. Can we make sure we get a picture without the fence there first, like we talked about? Any other questions for the engineer?
Blaine, I noticed in your water report there, CBCL. Are they? You say the water flow is going to go to the dam area rather than around the dam area? Is that what that's about?
Yeah, there's an issue there during dry flow. Right now, the river's eroding around the dam. So to try to fix that so the water goes over the dam, they're going to do some protection there.
Just two things. One is just to get it on the agenda so it's made public, but there's a lot of times the stuff goes on behind the scenes and we're dealing with, and we had some complaints about the lawns after the sewers and waters went in. Just to point out that we have been trying to deal with it and we've addressed the problem. Blaine has been dealing with it now along with all the other work he has, and it should be dealt with this month. The other thing, just a question, Blaine, do you have an idea on when we're going to get the lights, or are they ordered for the post office or in the post office?
The traffic light that's down at the intersection?
No, the pedestrian light in front of the post office, that was okayed in our budget.
The crosswalk signal. Yes. Okay. Yeah, we're looking at ordering those very soon. We're just trying to nail down some supplies. So.
Any questions?
Yes, Blaine, any word on the lights on McGregor?
Yeah, I believe I sent an email out to council Friday, I believe. stating some recommendations and. Oh. Yes, easements are done and registered under the province. And now it's up to us to do some locates around where the proposed poles are going to go. And then once we submit our locate approval to Nova Scotia Power, they'll proceed. Check has been mailed out to Nova Scotia Power already, so they have it.
So just for the people who aren't familiar with it's phase 3 lighting. We're extending from the where currently the mine sits down to where Subway is in the near the wellness center. Now it's a really dark area, and we're going to put street lights down along that road. Any other questions for the engineer?
I'd move the report as written, Your Worship.
Second, I report, Your Worship. And I just want to thank Blaine, too, for on Ford Street there when we had some on the road where they dug it up, and their town was pretty quick to go back and fill it in, so we didn't have too many complaints. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Knight. 6G, active Pictou County. The report's included. I did want to mention from the report that active Pictou County met with Dream Candy, in the organization next door above the library, in preparation for a joint program, Dream Esteem Leadership Training, activity-based leadership learning program for girls at grades 7 to 9. This will be part of the active after-school program based in Stellarton, the Dream Candy location. So I just wanted to highlight that from the report. Anything else anyone would like to mention? Can I have a motion to accept it, please?
I move to accept it.
Now second.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Knight, seconded by Councillor Wand. All those in favor, by saying aye. Contrary minded. Motion carried unanimously. Thank you. Item 7 is correspondence. 7A, Lenny Ward.
This was received on May 30th. Hello, my name is Lenny, and I'm a proud member of the town of Stellarton. Last year, you put a new sidewalk in front of my house. I live on Maple Street in the asphalt, for those who know where that is. I would like to thank the town workers who were very kind and helpful to me while this work was being done. I would also like to thank Brian Knight and Ed Stewart as well. I am in a wheelchair, and now I know why I'm really proud to live here with people like you. Yours truly, Lenny Ward.
We'd like to thank Mr. Ward for his positive comments. I know that sidewalk previous to our redoing it was an asphalt sidewalk with a lot of waves to it, so I'm sure in a wheelchair he's very happy with the work that we did up there. So thank you to Mr. Ward for the positive feedback. Item 8, Committee of the Whole report. There is no motions for Committee of the Whole this month. So move on to item 9, Municipal Finance Condition Index Results 2018. This is basically a report card for the municipal unit as far as financial sustainability is concerned. Stellarton once again has done very well in the report card. We have no red marks against us. Probably 2 or 3 in the province who have no red marks. So we just wanted to report that Stellarton is in good condition. It's relative to other municipal units in the province. We're in good condition as well. So we're strong here in Stellarton and want to keep it that way. Is there any comments in the FCIs? Okay. Yes, thank you. So we'll post those on the website tomorrow. Anyone who would like to see them in more detail, they'll be posted on the website tomorrow. Item 10 is a recommendation from Stellarton Police Commission regarding the chief position.
Yes, Your Worship. It was discussed in the Police Commission, and the vast majority are in favor of it. I don't know what you give numbers, but I would like to make a motion that Stellarton proceed and hire their own police chief on.
I'll second that.
That's been moved by Deputy Mayor Knight and seconded by Councillor Campbell that Stellarton hires their police chief and place an ad in the paper this week or in wherever people look for jobs such as this to be placed on the internet and the print media as well. Any further discussion on it?
Yes, Your Worship, on the question. Protective services, according to the FCI, represent 35% of the general operating expenses of the town of Stellarton. I think it's on page 16. It represents 35% of the general operating expenses The next highest expense that our town has is transportation at 17%, and then general government service at 16%. So by far, policing is the highest expense that we have. It's not only for us as a town of Stellarton, it's also for every town and municipality in Nova Scotia and the country. Policing is a very expensive thing, and on top of that, the expenses are even getting higher and higher every year because the demand on it is getting increasing. In the past, we have had a joint police chief with a neighboring town in Westville, which in my opinion has worked very, very well. We've had cooperation with them. We've had instances where we needed backup and they showed up, and they needed backup and we showed up. With us having a police chief on our own, there's two things. The first thing is that's an increase in cost. The second thing is, and as much as I hate to say this, but sometimes personality play a role. And if our police chief did not like or get along with that police chief, guess what? There's no cooperation. We can try and ask for cooperation as much as we want, but at the end of the day, we're not with them 100% all the time. So I'm very concerned about those two factors. From my perspective, I think I said it in the past, and I think there's multiple councillors here in Stellarton and outside of Stellarton that has mentioned in the past as well that Pictou County, the towns of Pictou County should have one police force. This has been brought up on multiple occasions. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like there's a will, because if there was a will, there would have been a way. And unfortunately, we are in a situation right now that we are going on our own. I feel that we're going into a silo, and I am not in favor of that. Thank you, Your Worship.
Your Worship, I point one thing out. When it says protective services, that includes the fire department.
So we are placing the ad to hire our own chief, but if Wessel wanted to come to us with any proposals, we're always open to consider any proposals they put forth. But there's no official proposal at this point, so we're moving forward in this manner. Thank you for your comments, Councillor Lewan. Any further comments? So I think we're ready for the question. All those in favor, by saying aye. Contrary minded? So for the record, it was yea by Councillor Campbell, Deputy Mayor Knight, Councillor Pence, and nay by Councillor Lewan. Moving on to item number 11, the Fire Department Asset Management, Deputy Mayor Knight.
Thank you, Your Worship. The big buzzword now, I guess, is asset management. I don't want the fire department to be left out. As Councillor Lewan pointed out, it's a very big part of our community. So what I'm suggesting is I'm going to ask, and I don't want it done tomorrow, of course, is I know down the road we're going to be looking for, the chief will probably agree with me for a fire truck, which is always upcoming. So what I'd like to see is do an asset management on the fire department and come back and let us know what we're going to need. So if we're going to need a fire engine, for example, in the next 3 or 4 years, maybe we can, in our budget in our year, and put that money aside so that when it does come, we're not hit with a big bill. I think, if I'm correct, you can correct me, we're looking at around $400,000 for a fire truck, Chief?
Around $450,000 for a new truck. And we talked about this before. I don't think we can put it aside.
We would put it in reserves. We wouldn't be allowed to put it away per such, but we can certainly put it in reserves.
It's going to have to be replaced within the next 2 years. Truck one, because that's the oldest one. They're only good for 20 years.
My understanding when I talked to Brenda in the budget deliberation is that it is considered like any of our other assets, like a plow truck, when it goes, we just have to purchase one, and whether we use one of the reserves or we use combination of reserves and borrowing or just borrowing, but that would be the ideal.
The only thing I would ask the chief to do when he is looking at a truck, Your Worship, is give us 3 different prices of 3 different types of trucks, if you can do that.
Do that, and there's another thing, should look at leasing the truck too. Over a 7-year period, and that's, I think New Glasgow's leasing one now, and they're getting a good rate on it. So that may be the best way to go too.
Sounds like an option, especially I know we lease both our police cars right now, so our police car and police truck, so it might be an option to look into. Thank you for that.
I would feel comfortable, Your Worship, if he came back with these options for council to make a decision.
It's not just the truck, too. I use that as an example. For example, I'm not in the fire department, but turnout gear or whatever else will be coming up down the road. So, like if you do an asset and you say, well, look, I feel that in the next 4 years we're going to need bunker gear or whatever. If we could phase them in like so many a year, and that way we'd keep on top of it and we wouldn't get behind with getting stuck with one bill.
We're pretty well set with bunker gear and BA because we just bought new bunker gear, and that's good for 20 more years. And BA is still good for 10 more years, and we have them service every year. So that's well looked after. Vehicles.
I think what Deputy Mayor Knight is getting to is that we don't want to end up in a situation like what happened to us with the with the rink. Sorry, everybody's this with the rink. So if there was anything that needs to be done from a maintenance perspective for any of you, the building and the gear and the trucks, it's better not to wait 72 years to get that done. Get it done as soon as possible. So it's a small amount that's being expensed every year.
But with the turnout gear, I understand it's 10 years, but like if we were to buy, I don't know, say 5 years buy 2 sets, 7 years buy 2 sets. That way, when the 10 years come up, we wouldn't be buying all at once. And if something happened, they're not all going to die at the same time. That, you know, and that's what I'm looking for, an asset, just a projection of what we're going to need down the road. Yeah.
We're going away in July for Fire Chiefs Convention. I'll get prices on trucks when I'm away, and I can get back with the prices then, and that'll give us an idea of what we're looking at. And I'll have to check with the men to see what they want too for what type of truck, pumper and that. So.
And what we can afford too, Dwight.
Gotta strike that balance. Okay, is there any further discussion on this item?
No, thank you very much, though. I appreciate it. Feedback.
Okay, next council meeting is July 8th, 2019, 5:30 p.m. start time here in the council chambers. Item 13 is open forum. Does anyone like to speak at the open forum?
Good evening, Your Worship and councillors. I'd like to talk about Pioneer Coal and the reclamation of the property after everything is all said and done. And as we've been hearing, there is a proposal out for Pioneer Coal for Westfall. One of the big aspects I think we should be looking at right now is if he moves to Westfall, he takes the wash plant and the crusher to Westfall too. Because it's been there for 23 years, we've put up with it, and I think if he's moving out of the town and not mining anymore, that should be gone as well. I think that should be really looked into as an important factor. I don't think we want it up there for another 10, 15 years or how long he's going to be there. I think it's just, it would be really a disservice to our town and a disservice to our citizens. There's been a few other things. I've been looking for more information regarding the strip mine, which I'm still looking for, but there's a couple of news articles that I thought I would bring up, and these were done. One was in 1995. John Hamm felt that the strip mine was not a good idea for the town, and health and environment was a big concern of his. Also, the coal company had said they would control dust disruption, and there would be compensation and fair treatment to the people who live boundary of the strip mine, which we know that doesn't happen. And also, in 1995, I found an article with you in it, Susan. It expressed that you had a feeling of betrayal from the government when they let the strip mine go. These are newspaper articles that, you know, I've been digging up, and Charlie and Angie have been helping me dig up. But I think right now what we have to look at, where he's going to Westville, I'm sure there's going to be some sort of meaningful contract done with the town if he does go, where it didn't happen in Stellarton. And I think, like I said, if he leaves, he should take all his equipment with him. And I feel that's a big concern for us and myself. I've been dealing with it for 23 years as a homeowner, and Stellarton as well. You guys get it down here, you don't realize, but I have a good picture on the phone my phone I could show you. But that should be something that we should start looking into now, investigating, that he move everything. I don't know when that'll happen, but why should he mine in Westville and clean the coal and truck it in Stellarton? That's just ridiculous. It's hard on our roads, hard on our health, and it's a disservice to us as citizens. And since you brought up the streetlights on McGregor Avenue, could I please bring up the light that's on the corner of Water Street and McGregor? It swings out onto McGregor. It was supposed to be moved in to shine on the end of Water, and it's never been done. So can maybe someone look into that for me as well? And that's everything. Thank you.
Alrighty, thank you. Anyone else like to speak at the open forum? Okay, so I'll ask for a motion to adjourn, please.
Who move?
Adjourn, thank you.